Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavis. Wonderful to see you at Govardhan. Damodar Priyaji tells me that you've been in Braj for a few days and that some of you are expressing a little bit of disappointment at what you're seeing. You don't feel that it matches what the FRO officer told you in Mathura. Please don't be disappointed, and please don't come to any conclusions too quickly. The physical entrance into Braj is only the first step. I'd like to do a little exercise with you now to make this very clear. Please sit down, feel comfortable, close your eyes, and listen very carefully. I'm going to give you a description of a place, and once I've done that, I'm going to ask you all to tell me where you think you are. So please listen very carefully. Radhe Radhe, or Radhe Shyam, is written on most trees and walls. The air is filled with the loud sound of Hindi film music. Cars crowd the narrow streets, their horns blaring a lot of the time. There is no shortage of cyber cafes or ATM machines. Practically everyone owns a mobile. Business is the main source of income for the area. Nature is fast being removed by high-rise apartments. Summers are very hot and winters are very, very cold. Open sewerage systems give a very special fragrance to the air. Children or women with babies are always quick to approach you for money, and they don't ask, they harass. There's also a lot of people in orange on the street begging. All sorts of monkeys are there to take advantage of you if you space out for a moment or two. And stray cows munch on plastic bags filled with vegetable peels and other leftovers. So where are you? I guess most of you would say that you're in Vrindavan. But is this true? The FRO officer in Mathura painted a very, very different picture. How is that? So let's take a look at what Prabhupada has to say about this. It's something very interesting. The Vrindavan that we are presently seeing and are feeling some disturbance with seeing. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say. The ugliness that you see is Yoga Maya. It's Krishna's covering. Vrindavan appears in this way to drive away the atheists and impersonalists, just as New York attracts them. Vrindavan hides herself from the materialists. So this is giving a little glimpse that perhaps the way we are seeing is not the best way to see. What he then says confirms this. There are two conceptions of presence, the physical conception and the vibrational conception. The physical conception is temporary, whereas the vibrational conception is eternal. Association with Krishna should be association by vibration, not physical presence. That is real association. So let's unpack this a little bit. These are not familiar terms that Prabhupada is using. But what we're meaning by vibrational conception is what we hear about Braj. And physical conception, we're meaning what we see, reality as we see it with these eyes. Now, there's a little problem with seeing Vrindavan with these eyes, because these eyes are presently giving us a covered impression. Why? Because our intelligence, our mind, and our senses are covered. So technically this is called drishtaman vision. We are seeing the jham almost like through a filter, a distorted filter. So how do we avoid this? We're presently at Govardhan, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Govardhan. Are you seeing Krishna playing with his friends? and herding the cows. That's what he's doing. What are you seeing? Take a look. Okay. So I'd like to do a little experiment to really bring this home. The potency of vibration, learning to see through the ear as opposed to the limited vision that our eyes give us. So I want you to close your eyes, get yourself comfortable, take a few deep breaths, and then in your mind's eye, travel to your favorite place in Vraj. Just stroll through that place. Note what you see there. How much does it remind you of Krishna? How much does it inspire you to learn more about Krishna and his pastimes? Just for a little time, do that. Your favorite place. What's inspiring to you about that place? Are you strongly remembering Krishna and his friends, his associates there? Now I'd like to try it through vibration. Just stay where you are, be relaxed, but this time open your ears and your heart to what I'll read and experience the vibrational conception of Vraj. The pure land of Vrindavan is cooled by the presence of trees whose tender branches are laden with clusters of new buds and the most attractive flowers. These trees are flowing with honey and saturated with heavenly fragrances, and their trunks are entwined with vines, decorated with clusters of fresh, sweet-smelling flowers. The heart of Vrindavan resounds with the humming of swarming bees, who have come to taste the nectar from those blossoming flowers, and with the cries of the doves, parrots, sorikas, and cuckoos. Everywhere the peacocks dance. Shri Krishna is surrounded by cows with long, slender tails. They approach him with an unsteady gait, for their udders are swollen with milk. Their large eyes become glued to the lotus face of the Lord, while half-chewed tender shoots of grass remain poised on the ends of their teeth. The newborn calves remain motionless, their beauty enhanced by the milk foam flowing from their small lips and teeth, with which they had so eagerly sucked at their mother's full udders. They cock their little ears to hear the deep enchanting notes of Krishna's flute. The older calves, wearing colorful blankets and their little horns emerging from their soft heads, raise their tails, butt each other, playfully gallop this way and that, and finally gather around their Lord. The massive bulls, laden with the burden of their huge humps, low deeply and approach him with a lazy walk. But when the liquid nectar from the flute enters their cocked ears, they flare their nostrils and tilt up their heads in ecstasy to hear Krishna's flute. So just have a think about it. You visited your favorite place, and I read something to you. Which gave you the deepest impression, not just of the place, but of the personality of Krishna, the personality of his associates, and the wonderful pastimes and emotions they share? I leave it for you to judge. So physically entering Vrindavan is only the beginning of the journey. The real journey is an internal one. And to make that journey, we have to learn to see through the ears. Now, a very interesting point about these two forms of conception that Prabhupada has shared with us is that the physical conception is not only temporary, but it binds you to the temporary. It will keep you here. If you form an attraction for what you see in Braj as we see it now, if you build a samskar in the heart, an impression of the heart of these places, it will bring you back to these places. The vibrational presence is a very different experience. The vibrational experience is given to us by self-realized mystics, Vaishnava mystics, who have access into the reality of Braj Dham. And what they're telling us is eternal. It's the reality. And by absorbing ourselves in that, it will take us to the eternal realm of Braj. So once again, I leave the choice to you, but I know what my choice is. Okay, so Prabhupada says another thing that's very interesting in this relationship. He says, Vrindavan is revealed in the heart of the sincere devotee. In reality, it's not on any map, nor is it part of any country. Isn't that interesting? You think it's part of a country? You think it's a place you can go to? But Prabhupada is saying no. Vrindavan is what is revealed in the heart of the sincere devotee. Here we're talking about the eternal, the reality of Braj. So such is the mystical and very magical nature of Braj. We tend to think that we are in control. Very, very illusory. We can leave this place with a conception of Braj that has nothing to do with the reality. It will be a reflection of our own consciousness that we will go home with, not a vision of Braj as it is. So we've talked about the internal journey. We're not meaning this in some esoteric New Age way. It's a very solid, scientific thing. And Prabhupada speaks about it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm going to read exactly what he says, because it's quite incredible. But it's a journey that each of us, if we do want to take this internal journey into the heart of Braj, we need to take note of what Prabhupada's saying here. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. Remember, Prabhupada has just told us that Vrindavan will manifest in the heart. So nothing manifests without a cause. And the cause is usually a seed, whether it be a seed conception or the seed of a plant, but it's usually there's some seed there that it begins from. So that seed is in the heart. Presently it's in the heart of every devotee. Is it lying dormant or is it growing? Let's take some guidance from Prabhupada about this. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravanam and Kirtana, hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. As one waters a bhakti lata beej, the seed sprouts and the creeper grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of the universe and goes beyond the Viraj river, lying between the material world and the spiritual world. It attains Brahmaloka, the Brahman effulgence, and penetrating through that area, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by Shravan Kirtan, the bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way it attains the shelter of the desire tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Golok Vrindavan, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. The creeper greatly expands in Golok Vrindavan planet, and there it produces the fruit of love for Krishna. Love for Krishna. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. It's a very mystical thing. This creeper is going beyond the material sky, taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. It's bearing fruit. We're tasting that fruit, but physically we're here. No vaccinations, no jet lag. We're in one place. We're absorbed in Shravanam Kirtanam, and the creeper is going to so many wonderful places. We really do have to have faith in the Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva principle to be able to make sense of this. So when the fruit of devotional service becomes ripe and falls down, the gardener tastes the fruit and thus takes advantage of the creeper and reaches the desired tree of the lotus feet of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So what we're talking about here is not that physically in this form we are reaching the lotus feet of Krishna, but through the mercy of Shravanam Kirtanam, especially through the mercy of the holy name, he himself, Nam himself, will take us in our spiritual form to the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is what Prabhupada is talking about here. There the devotee serves the lotus feet of the Lord. He's still in this form here as sadhaka, but he's also there in spiritual form. There the devotee serves the lotus feet of the Lord, which are compared to a wish-fulfilling tree. With great bliss, he tastes the fruit, not just the fruit, the juice of the fruit of love, and becomes eternally happy. It's quite an inconceivable idea, but actually, by joining this Krishna consciousness movement, by being absorbed in the practices that Prabhupada has given us, this is a journey we're treading. Better we do it consciously. Okay, so would you like to take a little bit more of a step into this internal realm? If so, please fasten your seat belts, open your ears and heart to the nectar that we're now going to share with you. Hare Krishna. With the arrival of the beautiful autumn season, the waters in the lakes and rivers became as clear as crystal and filled with fragrant lotus flowers, and breezes blew very pleasantly. At that time, Krishna entered the forest of Vrindavan with the cows and cowherd boys. Krishna was very pleased with the atmosphere of the forest, where flowers bloomed and bees and drones hummed very jubilantly. While the birds, trees and plants were all looking very happy, Krishna, tending the cows and accompanied by Sri Balaram and the cowherd boys, began to vibrate his transcendental flute. After hearing the vibration of the flute of Krishna, the gopis in Vrindavan remembered him and began to talk amongst themselves about how nicely Krishna was playing the flute. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that although the gopis were in their villages performing their household chores, because of their intense feelings of separation, they could see Krishna's pastimes through the transcendental eyes of their hearts, and they were relishing discussing them. And what kind of thing did they say?
Krishna moves about the forest in the company of his friends, who vividly chant the glories of his magnificent deeds. He thus appears just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exhibiting his inexhaustible glories. When the cows wander onto the mountainsides, and Krishna calls out to them with the sound of his flute, the trees and creepers in the forest respond by becoming so luxuriant with fruits and flowers that they seem to be manifesting Lord Vishnu within their hearts. As their branches bend low with the weight, the filaments on their trunks and vines stand erect out of the ecstasy of love of God. Both the trees and the creepers pour down a rain of sweet sap. Maddened by the divine honey-like aroma of the tulsi flowers on the garland that Krishna wears, swarms of bees sing loudly for him. And that most beautiful of all persons thankfully acknowledge and acclaims their song by taking his flute to his lips and playing